into it.
Yeah, I love that. We're just making sure that we have some recording work going on here, but it looks like maybe
I think we're good.
I think we're good now. Okay, cool. Well, really looking forward to this discussion. One thing I want you all to be able to utilize this chat feature to put in the general chat how much you know about Wish of a Lifetime. That's kind of what I would love to start on a 0 to 10. 0 means it sounds like Make-A-Wish. 10 means that you know a lot. That'll just be really helpful for us. But we'll have a great discussion today. So if everybody wants to utilize the chat feature, would be more than happy to get going. So I'm already seeing at least 2 ones, which is great because we're going to give you all the information anyways. So fantastic. And again, I'm a one-man show today, so if you do have questions and they're not being seen in the chat, you can always just shout it out. So Wish of a Lifetime and Vision Center have been working together now for several months. This is really our kickoff. So cool, Doug, that you guys are celebrating a year, because we're celebrating a few months and really the first day of hopefully some incredible work that we'll be able to do together. So basically what I do in these presentations is we try to talk about the why, what, and how. Why do we do what we do? What specifically do we do in wish granting? And then how? How do you get involved? Trying to keep it really inspirational and as easy as possible. So before we do that, we're going to talk a little bit about the collaboration between, of course, Doug and Kiki and Vision Center and Wish of a Lifetime, which of course brings us all here together today. So Vision Center and Wish of a Lifetime, I think we have 2 pieces that together could be really special. Obviously the idea, and we'll let Doug and Kiki get into it in a second, but the idea of Vision Center and you all at your universities, and I loved what Kevin was saying, the importance of intergenerational connection, the importance of deep learning and life affirming experiences with older adults, learning about life history and legacy. And so we really came together and thought, how can we combine what we're doing, which is wish granting, and what Vision Center is looking to do, which is making sure that our students are going out in the field and really learning what it is to provide supportive services to older adults. How can we bring that together? And so what we're so excited today to launch a hands-on training, which will be one of a few different sessions. We'll have a session with some students next month, but an opportunity to present a program that really trains students with the information they need in their discussion with older adults to submit and be part of an actual wish process. So this is just a wonderful addition for students to bring something into a senior living community and into their work, where they can bring deep enrichment into older adults' life through partnering with Wish of a Lifetime. So we'll have a lot more information about the process and how we are able to support and how we've done it before, but I wanted to allow us an opportunity to really introduce the partners, which of course are Vision Center and Wish of a Lifetime. So we'll start with Doug and just provide a little more information about Vision Center and the goal and how it comes together here.
I'm going to be quick with some of these slides. I think that one of the things that we kind of came to the conclusion on was the administrative residency, fellowship, field experience, however your own university defines it, has a lot of interesting components to it. It's that kind of secret sauce of getting people up and ready to run a senior living organization. But one of the things that we really felt like was the opportunity to make a resident, tenant, or client's wish of a lifetime come true will be one of those things that will carry with them for a long time. I think that having that kind of experience, understanding that they're taking care of people's parents, grandparents, each individuals, we really felt like when we stumbled upon each other, that there was a nice connection. I know that students that are out in the field need to know how to do marketing, hospitality. This actually is part of hospitality in a way. There's a lot of connections to this. How to do good budgeting, all the administrative stuff, but we really felt like a meaningful experience around actually working with an individual to have someone's, and Jared will go through some of these, will probably be something that they will carry with them and remember for a long time. And I actually say that just because I think there's a ripple effect for what we're doing. I think that understanding that these students that are going out to learn how to be senior living leaders have this kind of opportunity available. And I just can't think of a better fit between two organizations, because we have some ready hands available with willing hearts to help Wish for a Lifetime kind of move forward with some of the things at their agenda and how they want to change the narrative of aging. I think that's another thing that really attracted us to this connection.
Thanks, Doug. Yeah, and what Doug said beautifully, and I'm going to go into it talking about Wish of a Lifetime. So a lot of the times, and you all know this, we're looking for unique, refreshing, and creative opportunities to engage students in this work. And Wish of a Lifetime has that refreshing opportunity with wish granting. But what we're looking for is people on the ground to make this truly national. And so you all have access to these fired up students that will be going into community. And so really what Wish of a Lifetime is looking for are students that have internships that are working with older adults. And what they're going to get is they're going to receive training starting in October of 2023 about how to ask the question to older adults. Because one of the most exciting things and challenging things I think in the field is when you ask an older adult what their wish of a lifetime is, you get a shrug and give it to somebody else, right? And so how do you get that information to make a case for a wish? One of the things that Doug and I and Kiki got really excited about is Wish of a Lifetime's national field model. We have managers all throughout the United States. You all have been carefully selected because we have managers in your region that will be able to specifically coach students, not just with information, trainings, guidelines, one-pagers, but also one-on-one training sessions to work through any issues that come up with wishes during the submission process. That individualized coaching relationship will allow us not only to assist with filling out an application, but will allow us to track wishes that come in so that students can celebrate the wishes that are granted and be a deep part of those experiences. So I really view the engagement between Wish of a Lifetime and the students that are connected as a full year, and that starts in October. And we have a great opportunity to really steward those relationships and support those students as much as they need throughout the academic year. Okay, so we kind of got into this, and we're going to briefly touch again on who is Vision Center, who is Wish of a Lifetime, before we get into what are wishes and getting excited about that process. But the main thing that we really need is enthusiasm. And you know, Doug isn't short on enthusiasm and the importance of intergenerational connections. We all feel that. It's a really, really exciting and new opportunity. And I'm so glad to hear that there's like new departments created around aging services. So our hope is for you to take this presentation that will really start on the next slide and to bring that in the material to your students, to spread the word about this October presentation in the middle of October, and empower students just to learn a little bit about this as an opportunity. And once you make that connection, we're really proud that we have the infrastructure to take it from there and support to the best of our abilities.
Okay. Once again, I'm going to cover this. I want to make sure that we pause, and if there's questions from the people on, and since we're small enough, let's have a conversation rather than just kind of a how-to. It was funny when Jared said you're one of the selected universities. I will tell you that you got selected because you were interested. We decided, with all the stuff going on in this kind of partnership, let's work with universities that are progressive and are actually interested in doing this. Let's not just reach out to everybody. And at the same time, I want to kind of provide some framework here, is that, you know, this is not, especially this first pilot year, you know, this is an opportunity for students to take advantage of. It's not a requirement of students in your program, right? It's one of those things that students are going to have to self-select. This would be a great experience, great learning experience for them. We want willing and interested partners. We really felt like this first year, and we are focusing on students that are in their field experience. That just makes a ton of sense. It's not on-campus students. It's students that are already starting that 6-month to year-long experience with an organization. So we just really feel like, we wanted to start with, they weren't ready to grant 1,000 new wishes this first year. But I'm assuming, Jared, we'll talk about this. We've got the capability of, having a lot of students that are at your programs, if they're interested in wanting to do this, to support them and have the resources available to pull it off. And I think the momentum is going to kind of help us move this along at a pace that students will kind of see success with each other. And I think that from our perspective, having a dozen or so universities involved this first year is the right approach. That's kind of what we dialed in at. That's enough. I think the rest of the people know we're developing senior living programs across the country. And we've already talked about that. It's all about this bridging and partnership. And this is one of the partnerships that's going to make a ton of sense.
And we will pause here for questions in a second, because Doug, you're absolutely right. Like this is a community of people that are like-minded, and in a year and a half, when we look back on the success, it started here, and it started because of your buy-in. So thank you, Doug, for bringing us this great group. So I already talked about Wish of a Lifetime. We're about granting wishes to older adults throughout the United States. We've been granting wishes since 2008. What's really exciting when we talk about bandwidth is we became a part of AARP as a charitable affiliate in 2020. That allowed us to grant a lot more wishes, and that allowed us to have more staff to support volunteers. So the main goal of Wish of a Lifetime post AARP, or one of the main goals, is to utilize volunteers to find wishes where we wouldn't otherwise find wishes. And so this is exactly what we are created to do, is to empower students, young people, to go out in the field in their communities and introduce Wish of a Lifetime and our services to older adults that need most. So I want to get into, and we're going to probably go through this in about 15 minutes or so. I want to go into the what and the why, and the how is going to be really exciting. The how is going to be the last probably 10 minutes, but I'm going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes talking about the what and the why of Wish of a Lifetime. Before we get into kind of who we are and what we do people have questions about the ask of you all, the collaboration, or anything that you wanted me to revisit?
We got a couple of new people, Riley and Nadia. Hey, Riley Taggets.
Hi.
Welcome.
Hey there.
Western Kentucky. Nadia, where you dialing in from?
I'm the program director for the undergraduate program at Western Kentucky for Healthcare Administration. I am actually filling in for Dr.
Melanie?
Gregory Ellis Griffith.
Oh, okay. Great.
Yeah, I'm on this meeting. I'm filling in for Dr. Gregory Ellis Griffith. I'm sorry, Riley and I were a little bit late. We had the wrong link to the meeting. We apologize for that.
No,
thank you for
that's
having
right.
us.
We figured that would happen with a couple folks.
We're glad you're here, and Nadia and Riley. It's a good time because we just talked about the collaboration between Wish of a Lifetime and Vision Center. And basically the idea is we have a great opportunity for students to bring something unique into their field placements. And we're going to kind of talk about what that opportunity is right now. All right. So Wish of a Lifetime, we grant wishes to older adults, and we do it because it impacts, it benefits people's lives in a positive way. And so you'll see post-wish, people's quality of life is a lot higher, their happiness is a lot higher, purpose in life, energy, and it's fairly substantial. You'll also see that wishes reduce social isolation. And if we're reducing social isolation, we're actually helping the physical health of older adults, as can be expressed in the left-hand side of the screen. Now, one of the things that Wish of a Lifetime does really well is we combine the qualitative with the quantitative. So this is the quantitative, but when you think about how qualitatively a wish will change the life of an older adult that our student is serving and working with, I wanted to tell you a little bit about Dan's story. So Dan's a wish recipient that we found many years ago through a nominator, a volunteer out in the field. And Dan was a retired Navy man. He served for 20 years and then he was honorably discharged and spent the rest of his life working, raising his family, giving back to his community. And when we found Dan through his nominator at his senior living community, we asked what his wish was, and it was very easy for him to express that his wish of a lifetime was to go on a submarine like the old days. And we were super excited about this experience. We wrote up what's called the validation report, and we looked into our budget to see if we'd be able to grant it. And of course, Dan is a decorated military hero who's given back so much to his community. And we'll talk about it a little bit more, but this is exactly the kind of person we wanted to grant a wish to. And so as we were discovering how we would grant his wish, we talked to our friends at the United States Navy in San Diego, and they loved Dan's story as well and wanted to work together. And so they provided us actually two different options in how we could work with Dan. The first option was they would provide Dan an opportunity to go on what's called a decommissioned submarine. So that's the submarine, but it's like a museum. You could have lunch there. You could see what it used to be like, meet a few active military members. And he checked a lot of his boxes, and we were pretty excited about it. But just like many of our partners, the Navy went above and beyond, and they came up with a second option. And the second option was to get Dan on an active or working submarine to really see what was going on in live time and compare it to what he had experienced decades prior. Now, bear in mind, Dan hadn't been on a submarine since he retired. So, of course, door number two is the most appealing door, but there's always an issue, right? There's always something to overcome. There's always that barrier. And so in this case, the barrier was that in order to get on the active or working submarine, Dan had to climb a ladder fairly independently. And it's about 3 steps. And Dan, you can see, seated, was dealing with some physical challenges. And so this was going to be quite a challenge for him. And so we're a very empowering organization. And as long as we have a medical release form, we're able to do pretty much everything. And so we brought it up to Dan and asked him what he wanted to do and if he felt comfortable scaling the ladder to do option number 2 and go on the active submarine. So you can tell he's really thinking about it. He's taking it in. He asked for a few weeks, and of course we gave him a few weeks. About a month passes and we don't hear from him, and we called his nominator at his community, and she hadn't heard from him much either, and so she's been a little worried. And so finally she called him, didn't answer, went down, checked in his room, and door's closed, so she knocked on the door and went in and looked on the right-hand side of the room, and he wasn't there, and then looked on the left-hand side of the room, and there he was, practicing climbing a ladder that he had went to Home Depot on his own to buy. And the ladder was leaned on the left-hand side of the room, and she actually caught him while he was practicing going up and down the ladder. And he looked over his shoulder and he said, "Give me a month." And here he is on his wish of a lifetime several months later, proving not only the inherent worth and ability to grow of every older adult, but just how much these experiences mean to and change the lives of the 2,500 seniors that we've granted wishes for in the past. Okay, so as we go from the why into the what, I want to talk about the 2,500 wishes that Wish of a Lifetime has granted since 2008. Our wishes have 3, and we'll talk about this a lot more in October, but our wishes have 3 main general criteria that we look at. The first is we want to make sure that the older adults we grant a wish for have given a lot back in their life. That's easy. We all work in aging. We know if we ask the right questions, if we ask the right life review and reminisce therapy questions, we're going to find such amazing information about what our older adults have done to give back, whether it's military service, family, work, or their community. The second thing we look for is some level of isolation and difficulty. We want to make sure that we're granting wishes for older adults that have been through a lot in their life. I think about my grandma, who's 96 years old and still lives independently and has a very high quality of life, still travels. That's just probably not somebody that it makes sense for us to work with. Now, in this situation, because our students are going to be going out and working with clients, my gut is there is a level of isolation present. The third piece, and this is the most difficult piece that we'll be doing the coaching on, it's connection. We want to make sure that there is a deep and unique connection to the experience that the older adult would undergo in their wish. Now, it has to be an experience. This isn't just a fun thing for a nice person. This is a deep and meaningful event that will have that Dan effect that will really change somebody's life for the better. And when I think about this, I call it with my team, I call it the Hawaii effect. Everybody would probably love to go to Maui or Honolulu, but we grant wishes to seniors to go to Hawaii who have family in Hawaii or had a traumatic experience in Hawaii, or like Mel, last served in Hawaii.
I didn't even know if you.
How are we doing with hearing this? No?
Yeah, I think
I didn't even know if you would be alive
I can't
anymore. Because I knew how much he really wanted to go. So we kept planning and we kept talking with him. And then when I found out, I never thought that he would ever be granted that wish again. Come on, he was already given it once and couldn't take it. The fact that he got it again was just phenomenal. So he was so ecstatic.
I nominated him back in 2013, and I'd known him at that point for a couple years, 3 years, and I knew that this was his wish. And we really tried to make it happen, but Mel fell ill and his wife fell ill. And so it didn't work out that year. But ever since then, and even before then, he's been talking about the 75th.
Nice to finally meet you, Mel.
Yeah, here we are.
You ready to go to Hawaii?
Yes, sir. Drive on there. That's just fine,
sir.
You.
Navy Chief. Navy Ryan. Navy Chief. Navy Ryan. Navy Chief. Navy Ryan. Booyah.
I'd like to share this honor with the shipmates. For instance, 1,177 men on the Arizona, the 460 souls on the Oklahoma, and many other of my shipmates.
Knowing that he's going to be able to come back with us, with all his family, to keep the story alive, and the truth of the story, the sacrifices of the men and women, that's vitally important to him.
Stand and join me in expressing our appreciation and recognition of watching you today.
Being in that exact location was so real, and I think so meaningful for him too. I saw his emotion, but I also saw his pride and his sense of being able to help others and accomplish and what he needed to do as a sailor.
It was a beautiful Sunday morning. The 7th of December happens to be the day I was on duty with the fire station. The fire truck was parked right here, but when the Japanese came in, it looked like the sky was black. There were so many of them. Unbelievable how many planes came in on Battleship Rolling here.
You were 18 years old. A lot of them were 18, 19.
That's it. Kids. Yeah. The Arizona 1177. Kids. Like my grandson staying right there. Exactly. That's a good example of what was on the Arizona.
You're in uniform here. Is Mel, your grandfather, is he part of the inspiration for you being in uniform?
Absolutely. I grew up listening to his stories and sitting at his dining room table, and his time in the service, the places he's seen, the things he's done, and it was my primary motivation for joining the Navy. I would not be here without him, and I would not be where I am without his mentorship.
And I want to thank her and the rescue folks from the bottom of my heart, because this is unbelievable.
I hope everybody enjoyed that.
Thank you, Jared.
I am so glad. I didn't hear a word of that, but I was watching everybody's faces and seeing that they did hear it. So I'm really, really glad. One of the reasons that we show that video, again, there's 2,500 wishes that we've granted, is because it hits kind of three of the main things we look for, which is the once in a lifetime experience, that relatability, and the relatability goes into some media coverage that of course we had through CBS, but also that deep intergenerational. You see his grandson, his great-grandson, they're right next to him at all times. And that's one thing we're really excited about with these students nominating wishes potentially, is they may be able to go on them. So I wanted to talk about what we typically look for in wishes. What are the type of wishes that we grant, knowing full well that we grant wishes that are experiences. You see Mel is a great example of that. Our students out in the field and you as professors will get some feedback from older adults that say, I couldn't even think about a wish because I'm food insecure, or I need help with housing or medical bills. As a social worker, I get that and I'm so empathetic to that. Aging, it's a big pie. There's a lot of the problem to go around, and we focus specifically on enrichment or that life-changing experience. Within that, we've granted wishes as simple as sending somebody to a baseball game, or as complicated as sending World War II veterans to Normandy, Holocaust survivors to Israel. We've even reconnected sisters that haven't seen each other in 30 years, who are 110, 106, and 101. But as we think about the kind of wishes that we could be submitting, the first category is commemorating service. And this is honoring people that have given back to their country, not just in military work, like our veterans that we send to Washington, D.C., or Lieutenant Colonel Harvey, who we honored through he was a Tuskegee Airman, honored in Washington, D.C., and then at Nellis Air Force Base. We're also sending nurses back to hospitals, teachers back to schools, firefighters back to fire stations, police officers back to their police stations. This is an experience to show people that have given back to their world how much that sacrifice impacted others. The second category is my favorite one, and I'm sure you all remember during coronavirus pandemic, we shut down our wish sourcing program for about a year. And we, just like everybody, were sending older adults coloring books and food, and we kept asking them what they wanted. And the answer was always, I just want to see my family. I just want to see my family. And here we are 3.5 years later, where it's much safer to travel. And we're granting wishes to older adults that want to see siblings, grandkids, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, pen pals. We even reconnected 2 older adults that were dating when they were 17. And then the man shipped off to war, And when he came back, his girlfriend was married to somebody else. And then he got married to somebody else. But 55 years later, when both of their spouses passed away, they wished to reconnect. And we were able to make that happen. Just incredibly special and shows how connection is truly everlasting. Renewing and celebrating passions. This is our third of 4 categories where we know older adults want to continue what they love doing, whether it was pottery, art, farming, running, dancing, cooking. But sometimes they need a little bit of help to get there, a little bit of support. I think about my grandma who had dementia. She was a wonderful cook, but she needed a little bit of help remembering to turn the oven on and off. Obviously, with Wishes, the help that we're providing is mostly financial, but it means Olin, who was 97 years old and had been a performer his entire life, needed a little bit of help to remember how to perform a set, 5 or 6 songs. And with the help of the University of Denver, Colorado, we had a few students help to train him and sent him to perform at a holiday party in front of 100 people at 97 years old. We had 2 older adults that wanted to compete in the National Senior Games, Ev and Bill, 88 and 92. And we helped them train, and one of them actually won a bronze in shot put, which was really exciting. It leads us to Sue. Sue's wish was to go back to the farm where she used to help raise baby animals. But she could not get off work for enough time to make the 1-hour trip to the farm that she so sought to visit. So Wish of a Lifetime helped her get to that farm, and here she is, pure joy, feeding the animals and having that week-long Wish of a Lifetime experience. Fulfilling lifelong dreams. So when you leave here, hopefully you're talking about this, right? That's that enthusiasm piece that I know we had been discussing. People will probably say, wow, that sounds really cool. It sounds like the movie Bucket List with Jack Nicholson. And you'll see all of these wishes that are absolutely based in truth and in real stories. There's more depth to it. But when we have a 97-year-old like Jack, who's always wished to go on a fighter jet as a pilot, we're going to make that happen. When we have a 102-year-old woman named Louise who wants to throw out a first pitch at a Minnesota Twins game, not just because I'm a Minnesota Twins fan, if you see the Homer hanky in the background, we are so honored to be able to make that happen. When we have a 99-year-old Holocaust survivor that wants to go skydiving one more time, we're absolutely honored to be able to fulfill that lifelong dream and make that wish occur. So that's the why going into the what, right? Here's the how. Here's what we're asking for. We're asking for students to go out in the field and try to find a wish. Our application is www.wishofalifetime.org/application. The beauty about this program is that we'll not only coach students through an application, we'll do a lot of the application for them. We know how busy people are, and we also believe thoroughly that connections are our collateral. And so we are hoping, and we've seen this with volunteers before, it should only take 20 minutes of a student's time to give us the information we need to go ahead and hopefully grant a wish of a lifetime. Now, the biggest part of that October event, we'll talk a little bit about what we do as we just did, but we're going to spend a lot of time talking about life review and reminisce therapy. It's good for everybody to know. I started at Wish of a Lifetime. I am an MSW, and I had a social work internship program for 4 years at Wish of a Lifetime. Our job was to do exactly what we're asking you all to do, and we brought on about 50 wishes. And we did that by going out in the field, understanding the passion around Wish of a Lifetime, and asking questions about life review and reminisce therapy specifically, right? Taking our time, providing examples, asking questions about passions, networks, love, regrets, building deep rapport in the home. We do believe that by the 3rd session that a student sees an older adult, they'll get to a point where they can start seeing what a wish is. And I believe thoroughly that if we ask the right questions, we can find a wish for almost anybody 65 plus. And as we really double down into this academic training element, I want to bring it back to Doug to talk about the beauty of the collaboration here with Vision Center and how he, over the last year, has set us up to experience success.
All right, some of you that know me know that this has been on my agenda for many years anyway. And all of a sudden this connection with Wish for a Lifetime came along, and it's just ready-made. And I want to talk a little bit about, you know, kind of faculty role, student role, but you know, these are also, I think this first year, and I'd like your feedback, and actually we're going to learn from this first year. All of you are strong individuals and will give us great feedback, but there's a part of me that says this has to be introduced to students as a volunteer opportunity for them. But I also think that there's every reason to believe that Sarah at Indiana or Scott and you can figure out how this fits within your administrative residency and experience, whether it's I'll just, I think one of the things we're going to learn this first year is these are volunteers that want to do it. Say you have 30 students out in the field, maybe only 5 of the 30 end up doing this. We don't want to start this program off with it being a requirement, but I can't imagine, I know that during my 20 plus years at Eau Claire, doing something like this might fit into an objective of understanding quality of life for seniors, or, you know, person-centered care. It might fall into something that's a leadership project or a community project. There's a number of ways you can frame this so that it can fit within what the student experience should be, but we'll work with you. I want to learn from you. I want to make sure that it's one of those things that at some level, I think it would be nice if it would check some kind of a box within your educational experience. I can tell you as a person that's worked in this field and been at a university, you know, having the ability for what it's a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old or whatever student it is to have the opportunity to kind of participate in something like this and I'm super impressed, by the way, when you get to dig into what Jared and their team is capable of doing. They've got the framework already set up. They know, and you just heard it, if they're unsure about someone, they'll make sure that Wish recipient, you know, the right kind of protocols and procedures are put into place so that, you know, if there's some medical challenge, you know, that is there, that they're also kind of considering that. There'll be a great support. I can tell you that from my perspective, I would love to learn from you. How does it fit best? My real dream or goal would be to have every student at every administrative residency at every program across the country doing one of these. If you want to know, I mean, being fully transparent, we're starting out like this. But I think, and if you go on their website, I would encourage you to go look at Wish of a Lifetime. Some of the stories and some of the videos, you know, you just saw one, that's the narrative we need about senior living. All our students are going into this field because they want to make a difference for people. That's what we hear over and over. They want to go into a career that has a meaningful impact on people's parents and grandparents and friends. And this is just one of those things that I think many of you probably have had students doing something like this anyway. You know, there's probably, I know over the years I had students, you know, they found out that someone wanted to do something, they made it happen just because they were motivated and wanted to do it. I mean, there's a part of me, and I'm just going to say this because I know all of you, there's a part of me, the students that don't do this are probably the students I wish would. But anyway, long story short, we're starting out this way. We're starting out with people that we trust and are excited about this. I think that we do want to make sure students, and I think most of your students are in this place, we want to make sure the students that are doing this are being funded by a provider stipend or some kind of way they're getting support. I think that makes a ton of sense for us in the Vision Center. That, you know, we want students that are doing these kind of things that are being funded or supported by someone, because, and I don't know exactly, Jared, how this will all work out. I mean, I should know all this, but I don't. You know, sometimes I'm assuming some of these students will probably even accompany the Wish recipient on the experience. Who knows? Jared,
Yeah.
I would assume that might happen.
It's
Because-
absolutely my hope is that,
Yeah,
and the idea is, right, through deepening our exposure with the older adult, it will really allow people not only to learn great skills about how to work with older adults, but it will make them want to grant more wishes with us. So absolutely, Doug, well said.
yeah, we talked about, if I get a student that does one of these and then goes to become a site leader somewhere, or a community leader at an assistant, where that ripple effect I mentioned before, you know, I think that there's some of that, you know, and it doesn't have to be always as complicated as going to Hawaii to see Pearl Harbor. There's other things that we know will happen on the ground because of this experience for that person. But, and we're, you know, I don't know if it'll be Riley or Lily, we want to help and make sure that we're kind of tracking the success and progress with this effort. There are a couple universities that we probably will add because they've been hearing about it and they said, why didn't you reach out to us? And I just said, well, because you didn't say anything and I didn't know that you'd be interested, but you know, it's one of those things that like I said, I think that we'll learn a lot this first year together. And, you know, and some people like Lindsay's on the phone, you know, some students have leadership projects. Maybe they want to encapsulate something around this with a leadership project. I don't know, but we're not going to tell you as, you know, the academic in your program, what you should do or how you should do it. I think this first year, we'd really like to interact and learn, how did this fit? How did this feel? What kind of impact? You know, is this something that you can see that's worthwhile? And I'm going to bet anybody a free steak dinner at the nicest steakhouse they can find, that they're going to find that this is going to have a big impact on students. And I think the students are going to learn from these seniors too. I'm not sure what you're pulling up there, Jared, but I'm seeing, oh, there you go.
Trying to pull the video, but this is good. This is good. Sorry.
Let's get into questions because we got 10 minutes left and that's
Yeah. Well, I wanted to, I'll just put this in the chat, I suppose, but what I want to do quickly here is we were going to do a final slide.
Yep, do the slide with questions.
Let's see. Hold on. This is what happens when you're a one-person show.
And it usually happens to us boomers, not you millennials.
Yeah, well, I love, well, all right, well, let's do this.
There it is. There it is. Just click on that. Right there.
Yeah, all right, well,
There you go.
I'm not
That's
making it big, but yeah, here's some general questions that I can answer, but since again, we only have 9 minutes, I'm more than happy to just answer questions right now, and then we can go into general FAQs later. Nadia has a question.
Yeah.
Yes, hi. First of all, this is amazing what you guys are doing with this organization. My parents are a lot older, both ill. They often tell me that, hey, I wish I could do this, and
Yep.
there's nothing I can do about it. But that also has to do with the fact that they don't live in the United States. But what you guys are doing for that population, I am really impressed. I can see assigning something like this to my students in the classroom for a project over a semester. However, we do have an internship requirement that I'm sure you're aware of that requires 480 hours in a administrative role.
Yeah.
Because you are a senior, or you cater to the senior living population. I'm thinking my long-term care administration certificate students could benefit from working with you guys. So do you have enough work in the administrative area for my students to perform in order to fill the 480 hours that they need for their internships?
Let me respond to that. I see this as part of that, but not fulfilling all of that. I see this as one part of the experience. I mean, I think for those students that are doing that, I see this as one part of that experience. I see that this, there are students that are going out to the field to learn how to be senior living leaders. They've got to meet a whole bunch of different competency requirements. This is one of those areas of exposure for them. So I can see someone at West, and honestly, Nadia, I can follow up with, I will offer this to anybody on the call, and I'm sure Jared will say the same thing at
Okay.
the end, and Kiki's available too. Any independent question on how this could fit with your university, we'd love to talk to you.
Okay,
Just
I do
because-
have, sorry, go ahead, Douglas.
No, go.
I was thinking, so we have a student healthcare association that is exclusively run by healthcare administration students, but we do have other major students in the association. I wish their executive board was on this meeting. If I had known, I would have had them on here, but what they do is they often visit senior living facilities. They take gifts
Yep.
to them. They get involved in the community with, helping organize a run for Alzheimer's or autism or things like
Yep.
that. I would definitely share this information with them and maybe create some sort of a competition, like the first 5 members to succeed with granting a wish will, I don't know, take part in the homecoming day parade or something. I will pass this information along to them, and that may be a great way for you to achieve what you're trying to do and for our students to get involved. It's just an idea I wanted to throw out.
Yeah, well, and there might be some ways I can speak. Riley is from Western Kentucky, so I'll pick on Riley.
Yes.
I mean, if you're Riley, you did a summer experience with LCS. You could have done one of these this summer at one of your sites with LCS, as part of that experience. And, maybe there's ways, Nadia, to kind of connect the students that are on campus to some degree.
Okay,
But the focus really is on those students that are in their field experience or residency, because they're the ones that are going to be connected with providers and seniors on a day-to-day basis. But
Okay.
I love those other ideas.
great. Thank you.
Okay. Do you want to take the general questions of funded? It's Jared.
It looks like Sarah
Sarah
has
has
a
her hand
question.
All right, Sarah.
Yeah, so this is just broader about the student time commitment related
Yeah.
to this. So you mentioned a year time frame. Our students are doing semester-long internship field experiences. Does
Yep.
that preclude them from being involved, or do they have to be
No.
able to guarantee a year commitment?
No, Sarah, your students are like, when I talk about a year, what we're talking about is the field experience, the wish of a lifetime. That'll really depend on the wish, how long and how much time they're going to be involved, right, Jared? That's kind of independent of the actual time frame. So Sarah, if I confused you on that, I apologize. No, they're definitely, those students that are out in the field at sites right now, definitely can do this within that experience.
And I think, Doug has done a great job at formalizing this for us. The reality is, as Doug said, as you're thinking about how to creatively fit this in, this can play a big role in departments that are excited about it. This can play a small role in departments who are like me and want to do prototypes. We can be very, very flexible.
Yeah. Lindsay, you've been quiet.
Yep, I'm here. I'm listening.
I'll pick on you. We're working with probably 25 to 30 different universities. Some are very different. Like, the experience of students at Eau Claire. They're at a site for 50 weeks. They have, and this is one of those things that maybe a percentage of those students could take advantage of this and would want to take advantage of this. The funding comes from Wish of a Lifetime. The organization comes from Wish of a Lifetime. We're kind of playing this coordinating. Let's figure out best practices. Let's kind of make sure. And we're not doing this for publicity, by the way. I want to make sure everybody understands. I think it's a good way to change a narrative around aging services. But at the end of the day, I think students are going to learn a ton from this experience themselves. I think they're going to definitely get a better understanding of the individuals that they're serving. And I think that, obviously the wish recipient is going to be a huge benefactor of this. That's kind of at the ultimate core. Scott, do you have any questions? You've been quiet. That's not like you.
I'm taking it all in. I guess my questions are a little more practical, because I've dealt with these wish kind of situations before, and they're wonderful. And you guys are doing an amazing job. How are they funded, and is there a budget constraint or anything like that? Is there something that's too big or too small or?
That's a great Jared question.
Yeah. So as I mentioned, wishes can be as simple as you going to a baseball game, it's $100, and as complicated as going out of the country. So we've done wishes that cost $10,000-15,000. If we had more time in the presentation, I could tell you that Wish of a Lifetime covers everything from food to travel to dog care if you need it when you're gone. Obviously, you know, the connection to a wish that is overseas has to be a little bit higher. There's a burden of proof because we are a nonprofit organization, but sky really is the limit depending on the connection. And we're able to, the hope, not the hope, our goal, our mission is that an older adult or their companion doesn't even pull their credit card out at all throughout the experience.
Yeah. Well, and you know, I think that, you know, the other thing we've talked about, and I've had a lot more time with Jared and Tom and Kiki. I mean, there are some wishes that might be submitted that are not going to be approved. And so we also have to be, and we'll talk about this with students in October, I assume, Jared.
Yep.
You know, that wish of a lifetime, really, their purpose would be to fulfill every wish if it was possible. But some of these don't really, I mean, there are some things that probably don't rise to that level of meeting those other criteria that Jared talked about so eloquently. You know, and I think that they can always submit a second time or be coached a little bit if there's a student that says, well, I absolutely think that we should be doing this. Maybe there's a way to kind of reframe or rethink about exactly what that would look like.
Okay. And my other question has to do with but can former students submit? Because I have a lot of former students that are sort of in situations where they may be aware of something like this.
Yeah,
you know, an opportunity.
Doug and I have had great discussions about this, so let me give it a go, and then Doug, you can fill in. Really important. Wish of a Lifetime is for all. Period. The specific. Pull it up here. I think my technology will be better. Regular coaching sessions will be provided throughout the 2024 with staff. Specific assistance, monthly updates. That kind of coaching is really reserved to these select groups. We're a small nonprofit organization. Anybody can apply for wishes at www.wishofalifetime.org/application. The specific year-long coaching is only available to a select few because we want to make sure we do that.
Well, and to Scott, to that question too, I'm really hoping, especially, well, I know you well enough, but I know the dozen universities we're working with, we all know are interested and want to make sure this works for everybody. And I think that Jared and I talked about, like, for instance, maybe there is a senior living organization that isn't affiliated with one of the universities we are, but there's a connection that we understand is there that we'll kind of try to work with, making sure that this can, you know, maybe I'll pick on, well, it's, as long as I was talking to about LCS, I can pick on LCS. I mean, LCS might have a relationship with a student in a field experience, but it's not at a university we're connected with right now. You know, we'll probably, Jared is flexible, we're flexible. We're going to try to work through this first year, you know, try to make those things happen. If you had a student that's now a recent grad and is just starting and has some interest in this, I don't think we're going to get all nuts about kind of trying to make a few little, you know, the intent is, well, my agenda and the Vision Center's agenda is we believe that this would be great to have at all this, Jared's not quite ready for this, but at all the 50 plus universities we have, I would love that. You know, I would love to have all 1,000 students that are out in the field doing administrative experiences, but we have to start at a place where we know that we're doing this well the first time and are really hitting a home run. And we've kind of worked out some of the bugs. And I know that the group that we have on the call will help us do this. I can't thank all of you enough for your support of what we're doing. We are going to be making some soon, I think, Jared, the press release about kind of working together will come out That'll be kind of broader. We'll probably, if it's okay with some of you as university representatives, we'll probably want to follow up with that in the sense that these are some of the universities that are piloting with us this first year. I think that's good for your university. It's good for us, kind of spreads the news. We'll do some of that internally. I will tell you for a fact that Tom and Jared are the real deal. I've been super impressed with Wish of a Lifetime. If you get a chance to go to their website, everything they have on their website is exactly what they've talked to us about. And I can't think of a more credible organization for us to be partnering with. And I just, once again, I know this, we did this for kind of more of a faculty program review. We are going to be doing something in October. We'll send out kind of a little bit of an intro for you to send out to your students so that it's easy for you. We want to make it as easy as possible for you. And any feedback on that would be welcome. I don't know. Other than that, it is 3:05. I know that when I taught, if I went over my student reviews every minute I went over, they got lower and lower. And so
Well,
we'll stick on, but if you have to leave, you can duck out.
I care about your student reviews, Doug, but I will just say really briefly, thank you to Doug and Kiki for bringing us in. This is the dream collaboration for us. And I think Wish of a Lifetime is in a cool place where we have some great infrastructure to support, as you've seen, but team small. So if you have an idea or have a thought, or if there's something that you feel like, yeah, that's a total turnoff, talk to us. We'll make some changes.
Thank
We're
you,
really
everybody.
excited to collaborate.
Great.